Hi, my name is Sam, and today I want to talk about the bandsaw. The bandsaw is used for two primary functions: cutting irregular shapes in wood, like curves or odd angles, and resawing wood into multiple thinner pieces. So first, I just want to show you the different parts of the bandsaw and what their functions are. Here we have the blade that wraps around these two wheels, as you see below as well. This creates a continuous blade movement into the table as opposed to a reciprocating motion that moves the blade back and forth, like on a jigsaw or a scroll saw. Here we have the bearings. These are in place to prevent the blade from flexing too much side to side or backwards. Here we have the table, which is simply here to support the workpiece as we pass it through the blade. This particular saw includes slots on the table to accommodate a miter gauge, like this, which is used to push a workpiece through the blade at a specific angle. Here we have a resaw fence. This is used to guide the workpiece through the blade, if you're wanting to make a straight cut. Here we have the cut height adjustment knob. This is used to raise and lower the bearings on the blade guard to expose more or less of the blade, as you can see. As a general rule, you want the bearings in the guard lowered as far as they can go without running into the workpiece. This will result in a safer and more accurate cut. Now, bandsaws can vary widely in price and size, from a small $200 benchtop bandsaw to bandsaws that weigh over 800 pounds and cost several thousands of dollars. If you're in the market for a bandsaw, there are several specs to keep in mind when deciding which bandsaw is right for you. The top two specs I would want to consider before making a bandsaw purchase would be the first, cut throat capacity. This is the distance from the blade to the body of the bandsaw. The greater the distance is, the bigger the workpiece it can accommodate. And next would be the max cut height or resaw capacity. This is how high the bearings and blade guard can be raised. This determines how thick of a workpiece can be fed through the blade. If you plan on doing resawing with very wide boards, this is definitely something you'll want to make sure of. So now that we've covered the basic parts of the bandsaw, I want to talk about the blade types. It is very important that you select the correct blade type for the job you are doing. There are two main things to consider when selecting which bandsaw blade to use for a specific job. First is the blade width. This is the distance between the front of a tooth and the back of the blade. If you're wanting to make a cut that requires very sharp turns, you will need to use a thinner blade, like this one. If you are planning on making a straight cut, like resawing a board, you want to use the widest blade that your bandsaw can accommodate. Wider blades are more rigid and will reduce the likelihood of the blade wandering in your workpiece as it moves through the blade. Second is the teeth per inch, or TPI. As a general rule, if you are cutting thin material, you will want it to use a blade that has more teeth per inch. This will result in a cleaner cut, and since the workpiece is thin, you don't have to worry about the blade bogging down or overheating. On the other hand, if you're cutting a thick piece of material, you'll want fewer teeth per inch, because a more aggressive cut is needed in order to cut through thicker material without overheating or bogging down. Now I'm going to demonstrate some cuts that you can make on the bandsaw. As usual, make sure you wear your safety glasses, ear protection, and dust mask. First, I'm going to demonstrate an irregularly shaped cut. I've got my thin blade with the high TPI loaded in. This will allow me to make the tight turns in the wood. And so there we have an irregularly shaped cut piece of wood. Now I'm going to resaw a board. I've got my wide blade with a low TPI loaded in. This will give me the rigidity and aggressiveness I need to get through this thick piece of material. Also, I'm going to be using a push block so that I can keep my hands away from the blade. So there you have it, a resawn board. An interesting thing that resawing allows you to do is something called book matching, and that is taking the two pieces that you have cut and arranging them next to each other in a project such as a tabletop. This will create a mirroring effect of the grain. Veneering is also something that you can do with resawing, and that is cutting many thin pieces out of a single board and using those pieces to cover up uglier wood like plywood. This way you can get a lot of mileage out of less wood and save money. I hope you've enjoyed this episode on the Bandsaw, and thanks for watching.